Welcome to the Oceanic Mandala podcast, your gateway to the intricate and ever evolving geopolitics of the Indian Ocean. I am your host, Sumed Desai, and each week we dive deep into the dynamic world of maritime strategies, regional alliances, and the complex interplay of global powers shaping this vital region. From the bustling ports of the African coast to the strategic islands of the Indian Ocean, the Southwest Indian Ocean is more than just a crossroads of trade. It's a theater of emerging geopolitical significance where historical ties, modern ambitions, and future aspirations converge. Join us as we explore the stories behind the headlines, decode strategic maneuvers, and bring you insights from experts and policymakers who are navigating the currents of this vast and crucial maritime space in India's neighborhood. Joining me today is Sharif. He is our intel analyst from the Oceanic Mandala desk. Welcome, Sharif.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. So let's go.
So we'll be starting with the geographical nuance of the Southwest Indian Ocean. So please share your first thoughts on how you look at the region.
Okay. Certainly, in this contemporary world, as I said, like energy defines the growth and fall of a country. So securing energy is the utmost priority for any country that is ambitious to emerge into a major power. In this case, geography plays a key role in maintaining maritime security for power projection or naval dominance. So all these above perfectly resemble these island states, which were called as vanilla island states, which are present in the West Indian Ocean region. So, which are located near to the Mozambique Channel, a maritime trade route that accounts for 30% of tanker traffic. It is also a primary trade route between Asia, Europe, and America before the opening of the Suez Canal. While commercial traffic has dropped off, I can say that the Mozambique Channel remains strategically important for the eastern coast of Africa. As estimated, we can say like 100 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves are present in the area, which are likely to bring attention back to this channel. So, with this importance, like even the region vital for global trade and energy supplies. Additionally, these location too provide strategically military advantages for power projection, as we said, and monitoring naval movements. All these make states invest and engage with these islands because of their geographic importance and their naval presence. So this was well grabbed by traditional powers like France, India are the traditional powers of this region. But now the emerging power, China, it is engaging much with this island players, more than with the traditional players too. So these islands are vital too and can facilitate a Navy's continuous presence along international ship lines, allowing Navy to patrol and secure the SLOCs, sea line circumvallations, during peace times, or as like in an option to interdict or cut off the adversary communication during times of conflict. So with all this, like even the main concern with this region is political instability. You might be knowing all these countries in the eastern coast of Africa are highly with their political instability. So turmoil in Strait of Hormuz and incidents of blockade of Suez Canal. Like in 2021, we have seen MV Ever Given container ship was grounded for 6 days. So causing a global economic loss of $416 million per hour. So even we have seen Egypt closing twice this Suez Canal too. So considering all these incidents and considering the strategic location of these island states and the Mozambique Channel present there, these Mozambique Channel presents an alternative with great power political and with naturally attract a state that is ambitious to seek power to set up water in these western regions. Even like countries, we can expect these island states like countries can set up their naval bases too, as states established there in Djibouti.
It is wonderful that you mentioned these islands as the vanilla islands. These islands are not just dots on the map. They are pivotal players in regional security, trade, and geopolitical influence. What are the economic and trade significance of these islands, or to an extent, the entire region? Beyond the shipping and global maritime trade, how do you assess the economics of this region, of these countries, and who have made inroads? Which external powers have been successful in making inroads into the economics and trade of these countries?
As you well said, these island states are not small, like not tiny dots. See, as well said, like these islands, though they are territorially small, but they have a huge amount of EEZ, exclusive economic zones, and that are abundant with marine resources like fisheries, natural gas, and other critical minerals. Even with this, all this EEZ and all this, we can get the like insecurities, like non-traditional security issues, like mainly the small island states faced with non-traditional security like IUU, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, which is a major threat to these islands because their main sourcing is income of these island states are fishing or tourism. So it was reported that in 2019, China has signed a treaty with Madagascar for a 10-year to deploy 330 fishing vessels in EEZ of Madagascar itself. But it was officially reversed back with a new government coming in Madagascar. If it has done, China's advanced fishing vessels might have impact to this Madagascar fisherman and the huge amount of fishing there. So coming to the Eastern African countries are mineral rich, you might be knowing that, but they are limited in extracting those minerals. The region between Somalia and Mozambique, which is now emerging as a new energy hotspot, and like states like South Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo, Zimbabwe are rich in strategic minerals like uranium, copper, platinum, gold, and are all. Even offshore gas reserves are present in Mozambique, Tanzania, and Madagascar. Even like natural gas. Coming to natural gas in Rovuma Basin in 2006, natural gas was found like 180 trillion cubic reserves were found. This will raise the significance of the channel, like I say, Mozambique channel and the region itself. Might be in future you can see this. It might be a rival to Persian Gulf in the region too. So according to United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the movement of cargo for the ports like in Mozambique, Comoros, Mauritius, and Madagascar will grow tremendously by 2030. There was due to all this, like the presence of rare earth metals like hydrocarbons and all these things, even in Madagascar, reserve of earth metals were there. Even Belomanga deposit in Madagascar, 9.9 million barrels of recoverable oil is present, where only 1500 barrels per day, which was exploited by Madagascar. So coming to, as we have seen, many countries have military bases to secure their trade, energy, and diaspora, owing to the vulnerabilities and significance of the northwestern Indian Ocean region. The same can be attributed to the southwestern Indian Ocean region and its resource-rich countries, which all these significant and strategic region lies with these island states with huge economic EEZ due to their territorial size.
Okay, so you dived into the economics, the mineral, and how do you extract those minerals. And this often leads to regional tussles over EEZ. If you can share some insights on the regional issues, the regional tussles between different countries, maritime issues or issues of over exploitation, conflict based on indigenous communities, anything regarding the regional security issues.
So coming to security, seen like even we've seen the location, they are present near the Mozambique channel and they are economically rich because of their resource rich nature. All these have their own vulnerabilities according to it. To extent we can say like out of these 4 vanilla islands, only Madagascar has its navy. Rest depend on Coast Guard, which naturally we can say like they are very vulnerable to this. See, even we can say these island states cannot differentiate between national security and maritime security. Their maritime security is itself their national security. But these situations make them non-prey to all this illegal. So even we can say like drug trafficking. There was a smack track route which passes from Afghanistan to this region. So where drugs are like very, you can usually consume their drugs. So there was a report said like 6% of Seychelles population are addicted to heroines, and even 10% of working age population are unable to work because of its drug addiction. So these non-traditional security threats are much for these island states. And
as you
coming
mentioned,
to this,
yeah, please continue.
even the African countries, for a long time, they have a sea blindness. But coming to this recognition with their economic aspect and all this, now they are realizing and they are building their own. In these, like countries are investing to make maritime security being benefit of mutual benefit, I can say.
So you mentioned about Afghanistan. You mentioned about the drug route. It's very natural for me to think that the African continent is plagued by extremism. You add the angle of drugs, and when we trace the entire route, we understand that it's a golden triangle: Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran. Pakistan and Iran usually open up in the Arabian Sea, and it directly connects to one of the most infected with terrorism and extremism countries in the region, which is Somalia. And right down Somalia, you have these vanilla islands: Comoros, Seychelles, Madagascar. So how do you assess the political stability in these island states based on the drug networks, and how do you counter it? How are they countering it?
So, as you well said, like this region is much into this piracy and extremist group, like, including Al Shabaab in Somalia, or Somalian pirates, or even the extremist group in the northern Mozambique region. So all this contribute a lot. Even coming to Vanilla Islands, mostly the Comoros. Comoros is very politically unstable. There are many coups. Even India has helped there. Even in Seychelles, India has an operation there to decoup there. So mostly these islands, they don't have their own capacity to counter this coup. So many foreign players do have a role. India has played a very huge role in this decouping those regions, and even in Comoros they have done. So, with the Indian Ocean emerging as a new geographical center of power, especially this Western Indian Ocean region dominating arcs of energy, instability, opportunity, and growth. Vulnerabilities of this make pivotal actors in this evolving geostrategic landscape. So, and the prominent role in regional stability and global maritime trade. Like mostly the European Union, France, which is a the colonized power of these vanilla islands, has a huge role in it. They have many regional organizations planning there, but they focus on the maritime security instead of the local political stability, because they are not much interested into the political stability of these countries, which finally exploit these countries' Islam.
So the primary reason that we named this desk Oceanic Mandala was to imagine the oceans as a chessboard, as Chanakya has famously given the Mandala theory, where it's basically balance of power. So we have seen that India has been doing maritime maneuvers right from the Indian Ocean till Japan through the South China Sea, just to show that we do exercise the right to free and open navigation in the South China Sea. The similar argument is given by experts, policymakers, and practitioners in Beijing, that they are free and they are sovereign to build relations with these countries, although they are in our backyard. And when we talk about the region as our backyard, the Chinese often label it as India's over obsession with their sphere of influence, as if India's sphere of influence does not extend into the Indian Ocean. So how do you assess India's policy vis-a-vis the islands and China's policy vis-a-vis the islands, and how do you think the island sees India and China?
As you rightly said, like Indian Ocean is always the maritime neighborhood of India. We do have historical connections with all these island states. We do have like colonial relations with all these states, because most of the like laborers from India are exported to this island state. Now they have a huge diaspora. Also, focusing on Mauritius, we do have 60% of Indian diaspora there. And coming to other island states, we do have. But coming to like Indian policy makers like New Delhi, this area has been a blind spot. So you can be seen like in like Narendra Modi government's first term, like Indian Ocean Region Division was established in a Ministry of External Affairs, which they were now Comoros and Madagascar was neglected there. It was later added on 2019 after there was a high talks, even where vice president visited there and president visited there. So instead of treating these island states like Ministry of External Affairs make them as a part of continental, the Eastern and South African region. So there was a what you call like there was a difference in analyzing these island states and how this strategically evolved. So later, like we after 2015 was a crucial for these island states because like the Sagar policy, security for all in the region. So it was announced by in Mauritius itself by Narendra Modi. So after there was a huge visit and like coming to India's policy into these islands, like Indian naval infrastructure projects are huge in these two islands, mostly the Mauritius with respect to Agrega Islands and Seychelles with respect to Assumption Islands. So Indian Navy, by giving it will have Indian Navy a permanent presence in the region. But those two projects have stopped, I guess so, due to the local controversies. But controversies and resistance of the local followers in these islands, mostly concerning their sovereignty. Because these small island states have their own sovereignty issues because they won't enter other country to have an influence and regain this sovereignty. So India also established the first overseas surveillance facility in Madagascar as part of its Indian Navy's strategy to protect the sea lanes of communication. Even like in 1986, India has carried out a coup to prevent a coup in Seychelles. In 2005, Indian Navy has gifted INS Tharmugi, two Dornier aircrafts and two Chetak helicopters to Seychelles. And even the same has projected into Mauritius too. So even in 2019, we have a huge COVID pandemic. So in like the first Sagar mission in 2020 was to provide food items and medicines to these island states, to these vanilla island states. In 2021, with PM Modi inaugurated the new Majestic Court building in Seychelles. But all these have their own repercussions, I can say. Like. So most of these, the inroads were into China. China has grabbed this opportunity much because China has its own say with this Belt Road Initiative or like Maritime Silk Road Initiative. They have their own plans. They are having their inroads into this, mostly the Comoros. Comoros Islands, which is a three islands, combining of three islands, which is the north exit or entry to the Mozambique Channel. They have huge investment in Comoros. For suppose like they have been investing in building the port in Moheli, expansion of Moroni and Anjoni ports, and they have been a deep seaport. They are having a deep greenfield seaport at Sereni, which might act as a future naval base for China, apart from Djibouti. And even like in 2018, there was a construction of deep water port in Moroni. Within apart from this, they having a roads, highways, and what you call construction of undersea fiber connecting to East Africa, and all these things. China has inroads into all these, but concerning to India, it has restricted themselves into the maritime sector. They're not focusing into the huge, like what are the, see, mostly these Comoros islanders have their own repercussions because they have only focus on fishing and tourism. So Indian policymakers should adapt to the local issues and should invest more into the infrastructural development. I can say so.
Wonderful. You touched upon a lot of points. Before we conclude this episode, 3 suggestions that you would like to put out that the Indian policymakers, the Indian intellectual community who is working in the domain of national security and foreign policy. 3 key points or recommendations, strategic recommendations that you as a geopolitical intel analyst would like to put out to this Indian community to help them think better and navigate the issues of these island regions in a more proficient manner which suits Indian interests.
So coming to this position, like I can say, like the first priority of the say first recommendation, I can say that India must look beyond Seychelles and Mauritius. and it's deepen its diplomatic and developmental partnership with Madagascar, Comoros, integrating this into the Indian Ocean region, looking this all these four island states as a one theater in a policy engagement with these four island states. So coming to second, I can say like as India has like in 2023, India has placed its defense attaché to many African countries. India needs to prioritize these island states in the Mozambique Channel too, to monitor and understand security developments in the region. And considering the embassy too, like we don't have embassies in all these four island states. Even China has it. After France, China has an embassy in all four islands. Considering that defense attaché and embassy, we need to have an there. So if you have like some ambassador or a point of contact there, so we can understand more into the security and development aspects of the region. So we can connect more with those. So with whether it like more we need to deep into the maritime sector too, whether it might be training the officers, building ports, acquiring new assets, or enhancing the capacities to monitor its coastal waters. All these mostly the all four island states look into the east rather than west because they have been exploited by the west. So they look into the east. So coming to the east, we do have India. India is a regional partner there. After that, China. But China is occupying there. But India should make plans to react to this China's hegemony and stop this hegemonic practices of China too.
Shinzo Abe, former Prime Minister of Japan, the Japanese released their investment plan with India, which was the Asia-Africa Growth Corridor. So what I think the Indian policy circle should focus on is to deepen cooperation with Japan in this region to counter China. And it is just not the strategic foresight is not just to counter China, it is to make sure that we build upon people-to-people exchanges, we build upon diasporic know-how that we have, the diasporic advantage that we have in this region, and try to make civilizational contacts that can help serve Indian naval, maritime, strategic interests better when we look at the vast Indian Ocean. So thank you, Sharif, once again for joining, and it was an insightful talk. Looking forward to host you for more such wonderful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.